The river took everything in seconds. One moment, the boat was moving, the Amazon sliding past in walls of green. The next, a submerged log, a violent lurch, black water closing over his head. When Marcos surfaced, gasping and spinning, the boat was already gone. His supplies were gone. His radio was gone. He was alone in the Amazon. The nearest town was hundreds of kilometers away. He was 31 years old, a fisherman. He knew this river better than his own hands. It was not enough. This is the true story of how one man survived 70 days alone in the Amazon and swam his way back to the living. Marcos Araujo grew up on the Amazon. Born in a small riverine community in Amazonas state, Brazil, he had been on the water since before he could walk. His father fished. His grandfather fished. By 31, Marcos was married to Elaine, father of 2 small boys, and capable in the way that only a life on wild water makes a person capable. In August 1998, he set out alone on a long fishing run up a remote tributary, a route he had done before. Food for a week, fuel, a radio. He told Elaine 5 days. The night before he left, his youngest son fell asleep in his lap. Marcos sat without moving for an hour, feeling the weight of the boy against his chest. He left before dawn. The river was flat and dark and perfect. Little did he know, it would be 70 days before he came home. It happened on day 3. Late afternoon, golden light, engine steady. A submerged log hit the bow at speed. The impact threw him forward. The boat lurched violently, water flooding the gunwale instantly. He grabbed for the radio, already underwater. The boat capsized and the river had him. The Amazon current dragged him downstream with casual, indifferent power. He stopped fighting and worked with it, angling toward the bank, swimming diagonally across the force, rather than against it. 40 minutes later, he pulled himself onto a narrow mud shelf and lay there, breathing hard. When he sat up, the inventory was brutal. The clothes on his back, a folding knife on his belt, a waterproof lighter in a buttoned shirt pocket. Pure luck. No food, no radio, no boat, nothing else. He looked at the river moving past and understood. It had just become his enemy and his only hope at the same time. The first nights were the hardest. Despair came on day 2 with a ferocity that surprised him. He sat in a crude palm frond shelter and thought about Elaine and the boys and the ordinary life he had been living a week ago. He allowed himself 1 hour. Then he made a fire, ate roasted grubs, and told himself to think like his grandfather. The river never gives you more than it also gives you tools to handle. By day 5, he had a routine. A fishing line improvised from vine fiber and a wire hook bent from his belt buckle. Rainwater collected in leaf funnels. A sleeping platform elevated above the insects and mud. The Amazon is not stingy with fish. He ate. On day 7, he began walking downstream. Downstream meant the main channel. The main channel meant boats. Boats meant rescue. The banks were brutal, sheer mud cliffs, alternating with flooded forest where the water reached his chest, and things moved beneath the surface he preferred not to examine. On day 11, a caiman followed him for 2 hours, eyes above the waterline. Tracking steadily, he kept his knife drawn and his movements deliberate. It eventually lost interest. The insects were relentless. Mosquitoes so thick at dawn, he inhaled them. Fire ants, finding every gap in his clothing. On day 14, he found botfly larvae embedded in his shoulder and spent an hour removing them with his knife tip. He packed the wound with river clay and kept walking. On day 18, he saw a boat. It was moving fast on the far side of the tributary. He ran along the bank screaming and waving until his legs gave out. The boat disappeared around a bend without slowing. He sat in the mud with his hands over his face for a long time. Then he stood up and kept walking. By day 25, the deterioration was serious. Dramatic weight loss, his feet constantly wet, skin cracking, cuts refusing to heal. His concentration came and went in waves. During the long automatic stretches, he talked to his sons, described the birds, the river otters on sandbars, the way light moved through the canopy at dawn. It kept him present. It kept him moving. On day 31, a flash flood nearly ended everything. He woke to rushing water and ground already moving beneath him. He grabbed knife and lighter and ran uphill through darkness, pulling himself up by roots, the water reaching his knees before he found safe ground. He lost his shelter, his fishing line, and several days of stored smoked fish in minutes. He sat above the flood line, listening to the water below, and thought clearly and without drama that he might not survive. He let the thought complete itself. Then he watched the sky lighten in the east and decided that thought was only useful if acted upon, and he had no intention of acting on it. He rebuilt the fishing line on day 32. The shelter on day 33. He kept walking. On day 61, the tributary widened. He had been watching the water change for days. Current stronger, color shifting from black toward brown gold. That morning he came around a long bend, and the tributary opened into a broad junction, and beyond it lay the unmistakable width of a major Amazon channel. He stood on the bank and looked at it without moving for a long time. The main river, boats traveled the main river, people lived along it. He was not rescued yet. No structures visible, no sign of habitation. But somewhere on that water were other human beings, and that was more than he had been able to say for 61 days. He built the biggest fire of his life on an open sandbar at the junction. Greenwood for thick white smoke visible from distance. He fed it all afternoon and into evening, willing someone on the water to look toward the bank. On day 63, someone did. A river trader named Benedito saw the smoke column from his cargo boat and altered course out of curiosity. No community lived at that junction. Smoke there made no sense. What he found on the sandbar stopped him cold. Marcos had lost over 25 kilograms. His clothes were held together with vine strips where the fabric had disintegrated. His feet were wrapped in leaves bound with bark fiber. His beard reached his chest, but he was standing upright beside his fire when the boat touched the sandbar, and his eyes, Benedito said afterward, were the most alert he had ever seen on a human face. Mako said 4 words. "I need to call Elaine." He was taken to hospital in Tefé. Elaine arrived the next day with their sons. She said she had never stopped believing, that she had felt him alive the way you feel a sound before you hear it. Marcos recovered fully over several months, treating parasites, rebuilding muscle, healing his feet. The following year, he returned to the same river. Same tributary. His family thought he was mad. He said the river had not beaten him, and saw no reason to pretend otherwise. 70 days. One knife. One lighter. No rescue. No miracle. Just a man rebuilding what the river destroyed, every single day, and walking anyway. Marcos never stopped fishing. The Amazon is still there. Vast, ancient, indifferent. And somewhere on a remote tributary, a sandbar still exists where a man once built a fire large enough to be seen and refused to stop feeding it until someone... Oh, Kate. Someone looked. If this story moved you, hit like and subscribe to WW Miracles for more real survival stories from around the world. Comment below. Which impossible survival story do you want to see next?